Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to take the time to thank you for watching my videos. In today's video, I'm going to discuss and continue our ongoing investigation into foundations of genocide. This is going to be a multi-part series video lecture on some of the foundational and fundamental concepts in a discussion of genocide, in a discussion of genocide studies, or a discussion of genocide prevention and punishment. In today's discussion, I'm primarily going to focus on sort of the historical narrative, along with some concepts. I'm not going to jump right into concepts, but more of the historical narrative surrounding genocide and the idea of how genocide was implemented within international law, primarily by Raphael Lemkin. In the last few videos, 9-part series on sort of the introduction to this lecture series on genocide, what we realize is that Raphael Lemkin coined the term genocide out of Greek geno, meaning tribe or family, and side, Latin, meaning to kill, right? So this idea of killing of a family, killing of a group or ethnic group, and so on. I introduced the idea of genocide. I spoke a little bit about Article 2 and 3 of the UNGC, the Convention for the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, and we talked about sort of the idea of intent, right? What it meant to talk about genocidal intent, and we said that it is the intent, it being the intent, the specific intent, is a result of the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, along with the 5 different categories of, or types, if you will, of genocide that can unfold. So in today's video, I want to extend the discussion, give you a little bit more of the historical background, and then maybe in subsequent, not maybe, but definitely in subsequent discussions, I'll touch a little bit more on the concepts, the ideologies. I'll begin that just briefly at the end, the tail end of this lecture. Okay, so with that said, let's begin. So this is going to be foundations of genocide. Alright, so this is going to be a continuation of the discussion, foundations of genocide. The first thing that I wanted to describe is that this idea of genocide originated organically. As I said in my last discussion, no one asked whether or not hard scientists are giving sort of descriptive accounts of the facts, right? We say that hard scientists have discovered some truth. No one says that hard scientists invented the truths. And I talked about the idea of genocide as not being an invention of Raphael Lemkin, as much as it is a discovery of his very intuitive mind. What I'm going to do today is to show, sort of, give a little bit more emphasis and more qualification on the fact that this was a discovery. This isn't something that just popped out of thin air. There was a lot of trial and error, as in any sort of theoretical undertaking, in recognizing and understanding some truth of reality, and genocide as a truth of human existence wasn't something that he came about immediately. It was developed, and he recognized that he was going to have to go through a substantial sort of legal battle, or legal sort of trial and error, if you will, in order to pass genocide as an international crime. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of trace you through, just very briefly, nothing too detailed, right? Because this lecture in itself could be, 2, 3, 4 hours long. But just briefly trace you through sort of the idea, the inception of the idea of genocide, so the preliminary ideas, 2 of which I'll discuss in a little bit, how those ideas sort of developed, and gradually how Raphael Lemkin and a supportive community of UN Assembly members came about to finally get genocide as a recognized international crime. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so to begin, in 1933, so during the 1933 International Conference for Unification of Criminal Law, which I'm going to abbreviate as ICUCL, because it's just a mouthful. So during the 1933 International Conference for the Unification of Criminal Law, which is a conference that was held in Madrid in Spain, Raphael Lemkin proposed two sort of seminal pre-genocidal concepts to members at the conference, right? So Raphael Lemkin attends the International Conference for the Unification of Criminal Law, and you can see by the definition what the idea of the conference was, right? The idea of the conference is sort of a unified, more globalized sort of criminal system, a criminal judicial standard. And one of the ideas was this notion of genocide, but the idea of genocide wasn't presented as such. What we have at this point in 1933 is Raphael Lemkin attending the conference with these two preliminary ideas prior to genocide, right? Prior to properly describing genocide in its holistic sense, he had an idea. He sensed, right, that there was this thing in the world, there was this aberration that no one had up until this point sort of properly described or technically described. And Raphael Lemkin, that is searching to find a footing, right, a legal justification for the prevention of this concept, right, for the prevention of this problem, of this crime that would later be the crime of genocide. But at this stage in the game, he's not dealing necessarily with the crime of genocide per se. He's dealing with two international crimes that he's attempting to propose. What we're going to do now is look at those two international crimes, see what they were, and see what the implications were, especially later, after the fact, after they were proposed. Okay, so what he tried to do is he attempted to propose two proposed crimes. He attempted to two proposed crimes during this conference, the ICUCL, right? He attempted to propose two crimes, right, two new international crimes during the International Conference on the Unification of Criminal Law, right? And what we're going to do now is look at those two international crimes that he proposed. Obviously, these propositions, not these propositions, but these suggestions were proposed sort of vanguard, ahead of its time. And we'll see immediately how they relate rather obviously to this contemporary conception that we have of genocide. Okay, so the first then is the crime of barbarity. Okay, so the first is the crime of barbarity. Obviously, barbarity comes from barbarism. The idea of barbarism comes from sort of being barbaric, and the idea of being barbaric, bar, is sort of like nonsense to ancient Greeks, right? So we'll call them barbarians, right? The idea of being barbaric, very interestingly enough, appear, though not affiliated in any sense. I've done like a 50 or 60 part series on Jose Ortega y Gasset, writing in roughly the same era. I think Revolt of the Masses was published in like 33, maybe 1930, but roughly the same time, Jose Ortega y Gasset, also living in Spain at the time, has like 2 or 3 chapters devoted solely to the concept of barbarity, right, of being barbaric. And the barbaric individual, the barbaric group is the brute, right? The individual or the leader that rules with strength and with force. The totalitarian, the fascist regime is sort of the colloquial, the general sense of barbaric, right? The individual who does not appeal to reason, who does not appeal to sort of logical formulation, who only appeals to strength and might, is the idea of barbarity, right?